Hey, so here's the scoop. Last week, in the episode that I did called How to Manage Your Time Better, I messed up. So today's episode is going to fill in a little bit of a gap that I had left in last week's episode. So today I'm going to talk about how to plan your week. Last week's episode was how to manage your time better, which included a step on planning out your week. But when I listened to the episode after it was published, I thought, I just told you to plan out your week. That's not very helpful, now is it? So I want to do a little bit better and I want to be much more helpful and actually tell you the steps to plan out your week. So this is where you're at right now. Life is messy, life is chaotic, and you often don't know really what end is up, what you need to be doing right now, what you need to be doing next week. And you want to get to the point where you're able to have a calm, regular plan so that when things get messy and chaotic, you can get back on track more readily. Okay, so one of the things I had you do last week in the episode was to create a list of demands on your time. What that means is you have all of these things that have to get done, all of these things that you have to do, but you need to do a brain dump. You need to get those out of your head, put it on paper so that you are ready to actually plan out your week. Okay, so if you're not in a space where you can do that right now, that's okay. You can come back and listen to the episode again. I'm going to walk you through each step and we're going to go into detail on one of those steps that really helps you lay out the schedule for every single day. Okay, let's back up a little bit and talk about why you would even want to do this. So I don't know if anybody taught me how to plan out my week or if it really was just through trial and error. I think the workplace is probably what forced me into it more than anything. But then, of course, personal time or personal things outside of work, it's a very different animal. And before you have kids, it's really all completely irrelevant. As long as you get up, you get to work on time, and then you come home from work and you can do whatever you want, right? But then you have kids, and kids change the whole entire scope of everything in many, many good ways. Life just changes. It's just not the same anymore. And that's not a bad thing. It can definitely and is definitely a good thing. But our time after work, and even if you're a stay-at-home mom, like you're busy, you're crazy busy because you're spending all day with the kids and all day with the mess and all day with the dishes and all day with the laundry. So everything is busy and messy and chaotic. But when you have the ability to plan out your time, you may not be getting everything done, but you know what you're not getting done. And you know that you have to make some changes in order to fit the things in that truly are most important. Okay? I know it might be all the rage right now, at least it is in my mind, to do time blocking. And I want you to take advanced techniques like that and set them aside. There's a time and a place to implement things like that, but now is not it because that's really like too big of a step. You want to take a step that gets you from where you are today closer to where you want to be. But you cannot do this in one day. You learn from what you're trying, you learn from what you're doing, and you are able to make changes over time as long as you are creating the system yourself. And that's why I walk you through these steps. And that's why I teach you in an online course that I have to offer, and I'll drop the link in the show notes below. I teach you how to create your own home organizing systems because if you don't understand the foundational elements and you can't do them yourself, then you really have nothing to build off of. Okay, does that make sense? This online course really came from the fact that when my kids were young, babies and toddlers into their early teens, life was frustrating and I cried a lot. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for anybody else. I don't want you to feel the pressure that society puts on you to get rid of all your stuff because you should go minimalist, right? But maybe getting rid of all your stuff causes so much anxiety that it's really not worth it. It's less stressful to deal with the mess. You know what I mean? And I'm just using that as an example. But anyhow, let's dive into what the 3 steps are. First, you're just going to grab your calendar, whether it's a paper calendar or a Google Calendar or Outlook, whatever the case may be. You need a calendar. And if right now you're not comfortable with purchasing a planner to have a paper calendar and you really are not a digital person, that's okay. Grab a piece of paper, grab a notebook, and you can sketch out next week on that piece of paper. Okay? So grab your calendar, digital or paper, it doesn't matter. Step number 2. We are going to start filling it in. Remember, I talked a little while ago about having that brain dump of the list of all of the demands on your time. In last week's episode, I go into detail on that, and I urge you to just go ahead and listen to last week's episode so that this one doesn't get too long, all in one chunk, okay? But basically, you're brain dumping everything that you have to do and all of the demands on your time, whether it's something you initiated or something somebody else initiates. You need to get it all out of your head and get it down on paper. So that's what you're starting with. When you have that list, you start with the very top item and you plug it in to the calendar. So if, for example, I have to drive my son into the school every Monday and Wednesday morning for him to lift weights with the football team. That is a demand on my time at 6:10 a.m. on Mondays and Wednesdays. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to plug it into my calendar. And I'm actually going to bring my Google Calendar up here. So I do use a digital calendar. I do not use a paper calendar at all. It just works best for me and my family because I'm able to share the calendar with everybody. I will admit they don't actually look at it. They still ask me what they have to do, but we're a step closer to where we need to be. So let's say the second item is you have a thing you need to do for church and it's going to take some time to plan it out. So for example, I'm planning a women's retreat that's happening in a couple of weekends. I need time to plan that out. I'm not planning it by myself. I have help. I have other church staff members that are working with me and other church family members that are working with me, but it's going to take time to do that. So I know I need to set aside time to make that happen. So that is going to go on the calendar. Let's say for Thursday morning, I'm going to block out 2 hours. And here's the simple thing. If you have a full-time job outside of the house, put that in your calendar. You are out of the house from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and just block it out and it says work. You're going to work around that. Maybe there are some things you can do, like run to the bank during your lunch hour. You can add that right over the top of that other item. If you have conflicts, so let's say on Sunday night, you have to drive your kids to youth group, but then all of a sudden a piano lesson, you forgot and you scheduled that right over the top. Put those both on your calendar. It's okay. Don't try to resolve it right immediately, not right now, okay? You need to get everything into your calendar first and go from that point because those conflicts or maybe gaps in time, could that possibly be a thing? Could there be gaps in your schedule where you can maybe schedule in time to watch TV? I don't know. I like to watch baking shows, but anyhow, it's okay to have those overlaps. It's okay to have some gaps right now. You guys, that's it. Populate your calendar just for the next week. Do not go out a month or 2 months or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Don't do that yet. You are just getting started. You are going to fill out next week. And then next week, Friday, you can do it again. And the great thing about that is as you're doing this and as you're experiencing whether your calendar, whether your weekly plan is working for you or not, you can make notes, whether they be mental notes or voice messages to yourself, whatever the case may be, you can make notes and you learn from that. So then you know the next time you're scheduling a piano lesson to stay away from Wednesday nights. All right. Don't beat yourself up that you maybe made a mistake because literally that was my life. Years back, I would beat myself up because I would make a mistake. And oh my word, I would never have admitted to messing up on last week's episode. Guys, life can be so much better. It can be more peaceful. It can be more calm. And a part of that is planning out your time. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not capable of it because you are more than capable of it. You might just need a little bit of a helping hand, right? So that was really 3 steps. The first step is to grab your calendar, whether it's a digital or paper calendar or a handwritten one in a notebook, it does not matter. Step number 2, you start at the top of your list of demands on your time and you start to fill all of those items into your calendar. And step number 3 is to keep going. So next Friday, you're going to do this again. You're going to review your calendar. You're going to say, oh, it would be really great if I had all my meals planned out. Can I put that in my calendar too? That is something that I do. And when I actually make it happen, because I do not do this perfectly every week, when I have my meals planned out, oh my word, everything is so much smoother in the evenings. So those are the 3 steps that I have for you. I want you to get to work on this ASAP. I want you to reach out to me if you have questions. You can send me an email at tammy@homeorganizingforbeginners.com, and I will be happy to support you on this task. Okay, let me share a little bit with you about the online course that I have. It's called Home Organizing for Beginners, but don't let that mess you up because in many instances, we are all beginners, or maybe we just really truly need a fresh start, like what we've done in the past. It used to work, but it doesn't work anymore. That just means we are starting again. We are beginning again. So it's called Home Organizing for Beginners. I teach you the foundational elements of home organizing. You guys, this is something that you can put on repeat through your home. Every single space. You start small. You sort through all your things. Then you're able to start with a clean slate and get things organized the way that you want. But we're not going to focus on the fashion. We are going to focus on the function so that it works for the long haul, so that you are able to sustain what you put in place. Okay? Why bother getting organized and why bother putting a plan in place if you're not going to sustain it? And sustainability really truly is the key to having a peaceful home. A really truly peaceful home. And that's what I want for you. I want that for me. I want that for everybody because that's what we deserve. We work hard and we deserve to walk into our home and have a sense of peace come about. Okay, so that's what I have for you today. I hope that you have a fun and productive weekend working on this little bit of a plan for the next week. I will be back here next week sharing tangible and simple instructions about home organizing, cleaning, and time management. And a little spoiler, I believe we're going to talk about cleaning next week. Have a great weekend.